Science calls this behavioral change, neural rewiring. The Upanishadic tradition calls it awareness, breaking the cycle by observing it. Here is the most powerful insight. Karma continues as long as you are unconscious, reacting automatically, repeating patterns.
Dr. Kadiyali Srivatsa spent over 30 years in pediatric intensive care. Long before the threat made international headlines, he recognized the mechanisms driving the antibiotic resistance crisis and began documenting how hospital environments were amplifying the spread of superbugs. He identified specific systemic errors, including the licensing of unqualified staff to perform diagnostic roles, and blew the whistle. He acted on the assumption that the established medical bodies would support his defense of clinical ethics. Instead, he faced a total rejection. The General Medical Council claimed it lacked the power to intervene, and the ensuing conflict resulted in the destruction of his medical career. The British Medical Association also declined to protect him. He was left professionally isolated, facing the collapse of his livelihood. Most people in this position prioritize self-preservation. Srivatsa did not. He spent the following years distilling 4 decades of emergency room experience into the Dr. Maya AI and the Prema kiosk network, systems designed to function independently of the institutions that had abandoned his warnings. This level of persistence at the cost of personal safety is a biological anomaly. It raises a question about the specific forces that drive a person to prioritize duty after losing everything. In the emergency room, Srivatsa was known for a specific type of rapid-fire pattern recognition. He processed complex symptoms with a speed that suggested his clinical reasoning was intuitive. Srivatsa had never formally studied the ancient Vedas, yet his commitment to duty over personal reward aligns with the concept of dharma, the ancient ethical framework focused on sustaining the welfare of others. If this drive and intuition were not explicitly taught, we must consider whether an ethical code can be carried within our biology. The field of behavioral epigenetics is currently proving that we inherit more than just physical traits. We also inherit the biological markers of our ancestors' lived experiences. While our DNA code remains constant, environmental stressors create chemical tags that wrap around our genes. These tags dictate which genes are active or inactive. Research at McGill University and Nova shows that traumatic environments alter the epigenome of mice, creating a biological memory that changes their offspring's behavior. These chemical markers function as a generational survival manual. The epigenome prepares offspring for the specific environmental challenges their ancestors managed to survive. Biological inheritance functions as a living archive. It carries the survival instincts and the situational knowledge required by previous generations. To understand Srivatsa's intuition, we have to trace his lineage back to the Kadiyali Brahmin family in Karnataka, India. Historical records from 1400 CE show his ancestors were scholars of the Sringeri Mata. For over 600 years, this lineage was responsible for mastering and preserving complex systems of knowledge. His family also maintains an ancestral connection to the Uluru Kartikeya temple, serving a deity associated with both war and healing. This tradition represents the warrior healer, a figure whose duty is to identify and destroy threats to the biological and cosmic order. For 6 centuries, Srivatsa's ancestors lived in an environment that prioritized 2 specific traits: the rapid pattern recognition of the scholar and the protective duty of the warrior. Srivatsa's clinical intuition was not just the result of medical training. It was the activation of his ancestors' pattern recognition skills under the pressure of the modern ER. The threats his ancestors swore to fight have simply taken a new form. Instead of ancient disruptions, they are now microscopic superbugs and the systemic corruption that allows them to spread. The Dr. Maya AI and Prema kiosk use the same clinical reasoning to isolate dangerous infections at the community level. Srivatsa translated these ethics into Python code, ensuring the logic protecting his ancestors' communities scales to meet a modern crisis. He is not just a doctor reacting to a professional setback. He is continuing a 600-year family tradition of knowledge preservation and community protection. What we often call intuition is the voice of our genetic history. Standing up to fight for what is right, even when it costs us everything, is sometimes a role we were biologically born to fulfill.